Good morning, this is Lakhi Singh coming to you live from our offices in Mayfair. So I'm just trying out my laptop today actually from normally use my mobile phone to be able to speak to you guys. So hope you're all well, having a great Monday morning. Hope you can hear me okay as well. So I'm just gonna check with my staff really to see if they can hear me okay. So let me just quickly call them just to check, do a little sound check, because we normally do actually a live on my mobile, as I'm usually out and about. So I decided to come in early today and just now check in with my tech team to see if they can hear me okay. So I'm just going to do a quick sound check with them. So I hope you're all well. Can you hear me okay? Loud and clear? We'll just ring them now to see if they can hear me. I think they must be able to hear me fine. If they've not, let me just text them actually 1 second. Okay, so today's topic is stopping repossession, how we can help you stop repossession. So I've got quite a few notes to share with you actually. So there's a lot of valuable information that we're going to be able to partake today and give to you about stopping receivers. So let me just actually touch upon the topic itself. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So we can help in stopping the appointment of an LPA receiver. Now that's a very big undertaking. It's we can definitely help, but I think the statement needs to be a bit stronger than that from today's topic, which is that we can do a lot more than that. We can also not just help. We can actually have let's just say more than 90% of times we've been successful actually in stopping the repossessions. So we can't just only help, we can also somewhat ensure or even guarantee in certain cases that we can help. But I think that's all dependent upon the information you provide us and what you give us. So I'm going to try and cover this topic very comprehensively today. And the first thing I'd like to tell you all is that, number one, that today's quote is we can help in stopping the appointment of an LPA receiver. So let me just bring up that, well, the quote is actually, a man is not finished when he is defeated, but is finished when he quits. So I'm not sure if you've actually heard that quote before or not. Man is not finished when he is So a man is not finished when he's defeated, but he is when he quits. So that's quite an interesting quote. I actually like that one. Okay, so basically, I'll just be quite interesting to see any comments. Unfortunately, because of the way we've laid out today's show, I'm not sure if I can actually see any comments or not. So I'm just going to reduce my screen down a little bit to see if there's any comments. And then you're welcome to make comments. I can actually see them now. Okay, so man is not finished when he's defeated, but he is finished when he quits. So I would say, yeah, if you quit, then technically you are defeated. But if you're fighting the fight, you're not finished, then you're never defeated. So I think it's quite a straightforward quote. I'm not going to dwell on that too much. So the next key things I want to cover today are we can help in stopping the appointment of an LPA receiver. So let me just cover that topic quite comprehensively today. So today I am the host, so I'll be asking the questions of myself. Unfortunately, VJ Sal today actually is quite busy. He's actually flying around in his helicopter in an important meeting. So we're going to let him continue on his trips abroad, and I'm sure he'll be able to join us Monday next week, hopefully, because he always seems to be busy these days. A lot of international trips. So what I wanted to do is give you a bit of background what the Law of Property Act is, what is receivership, how it all works. So first of all, what are LPA receivers? So I'm going to cover all the basics today of what a receiver is. I'm going to give you some background about receivership. I'm going to tell you about the process we follow in terms of how we assess a case, what are the three strategies we adopt to potentially solve a problem, whether it be litigation, whether it be refinancing, whether it be doing a structured sale for the client. And I'll be covering some of the nuances in each area to let you know what are the key things you should be looking out for. Then the most interesting part of this morning is going to be me covering off 4 or 5 case studies as a minimum to give you an idea of the type of things you can be doing, we need to be looking at. And when I go through those case studies, you may be able to find that there are certain case studies which relate to your particular situation. So let me give you a bit of background about who Lakhi Singh is, what the property fixer is, what the show is about. So the property fixer is a concept that we came up with because I forever seem to be solving property problems for business clients, property clients across the whole country and internationally. And the problems are ranged from things like negative equity, raising finance, selling properties quickly, dealing with LPA receivers, obviously. So we thought, okay, well, what is it that be a good way of actually telling people what Lakhi actually does, because we do so much. So we came up with the idea of Lakhi Singh, the property and business fixer. Unfortunately, the Lakhi Singh property, business and fixer is a bit of a mouthful. So we thought it'd be easier to actually speak to you and, well, to be able to get the message across, to just to call it Lakhi Singh property fixer. So that whole marketing message is going out there now. So we'll be putting out a lot of very, very valuable content for a lot of people that might be having some complex issues with their buy-to-let portfolio. So who are our audiences? Who do we help, first of all, as the fixer? So as a fixer, number one, we help landlords, primarily buy-to-let landlords. Number two, we help property investors. Number three, we also help businesses and individuals who are trying to grow their business or their portfolio, property portfolio. So we cover a whole range of people that are involved primarily in property. We do get business owners coming to us looking for business finance or looking to acquire commercial premises or rent commercial premises. So we do cover a huge spectrum of clients. So what is it Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, can do in helping you to deal with any problems related to stopping LPA receivers? So the primary thing that we can do is, number one, we are able to assist in dealing with very complex type situations. To give you a bit more history, actually, we also have 15 years of experience now in dealing with these type of problems. And the reason that I would say that we're very good at what we do is that we've got something like 35, 40 years of experience in dealing with receivership issues between myself and a few other senior staff in the company. We also work with over 200 solicitors across the UK to attend various court matters. We are based in Mayfair, in the heart of London, where all the big hedge funds are and a lot of bridging companies. So we have very good access and facilities from lenders that will lend money out in relation to finance. We also have over 15 staff now, all of which work in marketing, sales, whether it's back office, as well as office management. So we are, we're very lucky to be in this sector. We're probably the only company in the UK that specialises in stopping LPA receivers across the whole country. And I don't think there's anybody else that actually specialises in stopping LPA receivers, because I've done my research and there isn't really anybody that does it as their core bit of work. So what are LPA receivers? What do they do? And what is it that we can do to help? So first of all, what LPA receivers stands for, the Landlord and Property Act 1925, which is an act which has been passed by the government to help governments that are lending out money to bridging companies or mortgage lenders, primarily buy-to-let, and also commercial lenders that have lent out money, and it basically protects their interests in terms of if the borrower doesn't actually pay the money back, or is in arrears, or is in default, or is broken the contract by which they've actually they've signed up to. So that's how the whole problem starts. So that's really the crux of it. So I've got some notes here, so I'm going to refer to those. 1 second. Yeah, my staff have told me that I'm trying this on the laptop for the very first time after about a year of doing it on my mobile phone. So I think they're saying it's fine, it's all okay. So hopefully you guys can all hear me fine, and I'm not just talking to myself. So going back to the topic, I've got my notes here, so I'll just pull them out. 1 second. So first of all, I'll explain to you what LPA receivers are. So typically, how do they get appointed, and why would you be calling us? Okay. So what we've done is we are very strong organically on the internet, because we've got over 15 websites. So we've got cash flow bridging, got management consultants for you, we've got rescue my properties, we've got immediate bank claims. I've also got a very prominent sort of social media search engine optimization around my name. So if you were to type in stop repossession, negative equity, and LPA receivers help, those keywords into Google, then we actually pop up in the top 10 or 15. And as an exercise, I was actually possibly probably gonna just do a quick sort of exercise here and show you. So if you go to Google, I'm just going to quickly type it in here, because we are live now. And so if you typed in something I prepared earlier. So we've got those keywords. And what happens is that the first website that pops up is the website that is called So what happens is that we pop up negativeequityportfolio.org.uk, and then we've got Rescue My Properties that comes up second. Then you got stopping repossession in 24 hours. Let's actually click on some. This is quite a good fun exercise, isn't it? I think it might have been better to actually use my mobile. I could carry my laptop like this. It would be easier if I do it like that. 1 second. I'll just bring it back up again. I'm just going to look it up for you. So the first one is negative equity portfolio. Second one is Rescue My Properties. Third one is stopping repossession in 24 hours UK-wide, Rescue My Properties. That, I believe, is a presentation I did to Aston Bond solicitors in Slough 4 or 5 years back. That's actually quite a well-known video that a lot of people look at when they're stuck. They seem to find us quite easily with that. So then we've got another company here unrelated to us. Then you've got my LinkedIn profile, Lakhi Singh, negative equity. Then we've got Immediate Bank Claims, which is our key brand now, which is the one that specializes in stopping repossession. We've got another company called Property Tribes here. Then I've got Lakhi Singh Property Fixer, which is a new website that we launched a few months back, the Fixer brand. Then we've got something on my Facebook, a video that we put up on Facebook, which says how you can stop LPA receivers from taking your buy-to-let. So that's quite a lot of information there for you. So after that, maybe all the other companies are unrelated to our company. So my information serves me right. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 9, 10. See, we are the top 6 sort of searches. So that's actually quite important for you guys to know. And the other interesting thing is that if I clicked on this third video, which is on YouTube, so that's a video that we did about, I think, 2 or 3 years back in Slough at Aston Bond Solicitors with Mani Chopra, where I talked about how to stop repossession in 24 hours. So it's quite a detailed presentation. So I'm going to try and cover a lot of those things that we covered then. Okay, so let me have a quick check. So we've covered quite a lot already in terms of how you can find us. So the key brands that we have are Immediate Bank Claims. Immediate Bank Claims specializes in stopping repossession. So we deal with N244 forms, applications. We help with the mortgage arrears type problems. We help with anything to do with defaults or debt settlement. So any type of issues that's related to banks coming to you're coming to a loggerhead with the banks about your assets or your debts. Okay. We go even as far as negative equity. So the first website that you saw is called negativeequityportfolio.org.uk. So we also specialize in negative equity. So, but the primer of today's discussion is around LPA properties, LPA receivership. And I'm going to try and go into a bit more detail about what our process is and how we can help. So I'm going to show you a little bit more on here actually, so it makes it a bit easier for me. So number one is negative equity portfolio. When you typed in the words stop repossession, negative equity, LPA receivers. Number two is Rescue My Properties, which is also one of our websites, Rescue My Properties. Let me quickly show you that one. Oops. Okay, so check. Well, we need to actually probably look at that website. It seems to be down for some reason. Then we've got the Lakhi Singh profile, LinkedIn. Then we have immediate man claims. There we go. So quickly going to show you the website because it saves me a lot of time to cover all the key topics off. So you've got 4 or 5 key areas. So number one is repossession specialists, mortgage arrears, N24 applications, LPA receivers, insolvency help, and news and updates. So under the topic of mortgage arrears, we help with mortgage shortfalls, expired mortgages, reducing your mortgage payments, missed mortgage payments, credit rating repair. Under the N244 applications, we can help with the court process, the repossession court process. We can help with landlords that are facing evictions. Actually, I think it should actually read more like a homeowner that's actually facing eviction. That's probably better. And then we have bailiffs and repossession, help to stop repossession. So a lot of topics there to cover. Then today's topic is actually how you're stopping LPA receivers, and how do you fight against the LPA receiver, how to actually stop them, shortfall sales, and losing your home, and sort of talking about the difference between all those different topics. Insolvency help. We do get a lot of people that have some bankruptcy type issues, and they're not quite sure whether they should go to an IVA or a CVA, or they should go into bankruptcy, or if they're being made bankrupt, how do they actually get out of that problem? Is there a solution? So we also have lots of information here for you. We also have tons and tons of video material if you're looking to actually find out more about what we do. We've got lots of short videos here, ranging from an introduction to what immediate bank claims does, how you can repair your credit file, why do I need an N244 form, why we're the leading specialist in stopping repossession. So there's tons and tons of material that we're actually putting out there, which actually gives you the basics for you to know really what we do. So I'm just going to quickly flick through. Look, so you've got tons and tons of videos for you. And if you go to YouTube and you type in the same terms, this is where it gets quite interesting actually. So if you were to type in the same terms, then you get a company called Equity Release for You, Chat and Solicitor, and Just Answer.co.uk, which are ads that come up. And then, first thing you see me with my glasses on. They are real glasses, by the way. Talking about LPA receivers, negative equity. a video that was done about 3 years ago. Then the stopping repossession 24 hours video comes up, which tells you all the services we provide at a presentation I did. This is the funniest thing. The presentation I'm actually doing has actually popped up third on YouTube. So while we're live, so it's quite funny that we can actually see ourselves here. It actually says live now, so we can actually see ourselves live. That's quite interesting. I'm just wondering if I clicked on that now, I'll be able to see myself watching myself live. Crazy times. Okay, so nearly every single video around repossession, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 10 videos is of our organization, Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, talking about how we can help people with receivership type issues. Let's see what happens after that, after the top 10. Oh, wow. So I think out of the top 50 videos, we come up about 50% of the time, talking about receivership issues and how it all works. Yeah, probably even more than that, actually. So as you can see, we've got tons and tons of material for anybody out there who wants to actually find out more about receivership and what the issues are. So that I don't think I've ever actually done the presentation this way. We've actually shared all our resources in this way. So I think the medium of using having a screen behind me is quite handy. We could probably next time, I think I'll probably go on to shared screens on my laptop so I can show you with a split screen. Maybe we can try that. So if my tech team can help me to sort that out, that would be good. But it's not bad actually. Sitting here and using the screen actually probably gives you quite a good idea of the potentials of what the services we provide. So I'm gonna make it a bit quite exciting today. I'm gonna give you like a little breakdown of the sort of key 5 or 6 steps that we do to get somebody out of a repossession type problem with the LPA receivers. And just to make it clear, anybody that's owns a home, then LPA receivers don't get appointed unless it's a second charge loan, and it's even then I think it's slightly different, a bit more complicated. But let's just say that if you're a buy-to-let, the target market for that we're talking to who've actually got these sort of problems are typically buy-to-let landlords or people that own a mixture of buy-to-lets and commercial assets. So first thing we do is we normally get a call from somebody that spotted us on the internet or through accountancy firms or solicitors, where the clients are literally in a very, very difficult situation and about to lose everything. But they've left it too late for anything to be done. But with us, even if the property's been taken over by receivers, or even if the property's been repossessed, we still have an angle on actually helping you. So there's a lot of things that we can do which are above and beyond most people's understanding in terms of the potential of what immediate bank claims and its services and what's under its umbrella that can be achieved. So we typically get a call or introduction, and the 4 or 5 simple questions we normally ask is, number one, what's the value of the property? What's the debt amount? And also a chronology of really what's happened to date, and what stage of receivership is it. The property is the receivers haven't been appointed yet, but you're in arrears, but you're worried about getting receivers appointed. Second situation is that receivers are about to get appointed, but they haven't been appointed yet. Third situation is that receivers have been appointed, but they haven't knocked on the door or changed any locks yet. And fourth situation is that the receivers have been appointed and the door locks have been changed, and they're collecting the rent. And the last type of situation is that the door locks have been changed and the receivers have collecting rentals, and then I've also put the property up on the market. And the last situation is, believe it or not, another scenario is that locks have been changed, rentals have been collected, receivers have been appointed, they've put the property up for sale, and we get a call about 2 or 3 days before the property's about to go into auction. That's quite a common thing that happens as well. We sort of seem to be sometimes the option of last resort, because people in the flurry of activity start looking around on the internet trying to find somebody who specializes in LPA receivers, and end up finding us. So quite a lot of scenarios there for you to be aware of in terms of what we address. So what would we do in those situations? Number one, we want to know the address of the property, the value of it, the debt, and a chronology of the circumstances, and we'd send them out a detailed list of information we would need to make an assessment to see how we could help them out of their predicament and, well, stop the receivers really. And again, just to reiterate, very few people are aware of all that goes into solving all these receivership problems. And some people have a very sort of positive attitude towards the banks, thinking the bank is their friend. But believe you me, the bank is not your friend. And they think that, oh, my property's been taken over, they'll sell it for the best price and I'll get my money back out. So this is a warning for anybody out there thinking like that that's definitely not the case. So what you have to do is you have to really focus in on trying to understand exactly what's going on and resolving the problem. If you're not from this space, don't understand how LPA receivers work, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be out of your depths, and you could be potentially making losses of a couple of £100,000 on on a shortfall on a sale. And what are you going to do? So it's very important that you speak to us. And the first thing we will do is we'll give you a free sort of half an hour consultation. And typically speaking, we would do that for free, just to get an understanding of seeing really what the problem is and make an assessment to see whether we can help. Number two is we would ask you to send certain amounts of information, and based upon your free consultation and on the information we've got, we would come back to you about what to do next. If it's something simple to be done and we think we don't need to do anything, it's just a matter of ticking a few boxes in a document somewhere, we may just tell you what to do. But on the whole, 9 times out of 10, most people are usually in the last 4 or 5 scenarios that they're not proactive necessarily in terms of solving their problem. So receivers are usually being appointed, they want disinstruction. So in those circumstances, we'd come back with a price of what we think it would take to solve the problem. And then we would sort of take it from there. Now, so that's the first part of the process. The second part of the process, this is where it gets more interesting, is that we would actually have three typical strategies. I'm keeping this quite high level about really what we would do to actually solve the problem. So just to make it clear, nearly every client that we get with these sort of problems is extremely stressed, high pressure, and the reason they sort of probably come to me is that I am, quite an empathetic sort of person. I do try to sort of understand their problems and try to give them that extra bit of help and care and attention. So I think one of the reasons we've been very successful in what we do is that we do go the extra mile in just ensuring that we provide a very comprehensive service, not at a business level of solving their problem, but also keeping in touch with the client, just ensuring that they're kept informed of what to do, and also very good at sort of understanding really where their psychology might be at. And we usually can read really what they're going to do. And some people are very reactive, some people are very proactive, but on the whole, people are reactive. That's why they're in that problem. So reaction doesn't always actually, usually is actually causes a bigger problem than it solves, because people tend to get caught up in the emotion of everything, and it's very difficult for them to come out of this because they've got pressure from their partner, their loved one, husband or wife, their kids, or parents, or financial pressures or emotional pressures, or they may have other forms of illness or something's happened. So the situation usually tends to be there tends to be it tends to be very, very high emotion, and that can be very difficult actually to deal with. But because we've been doing it now for 15 years, we understand the profiling of who people are, what they're about, what they're going through, and really what is it that really we can be able to do to help, depending on their situation. So there's quite a lot to take in just as a part of the intro. Okay, so we've done the assessment, we've got an understanding of the problem, and I think there's three typical areas of help that we can give. Number one is the first thing we do is we typically look at how the receivers are appointed. And we have been in a situation where the receivers haven't been appointed following the right process. So we have been able to actually disinstruct receivers just on that. And that is actually, that's because of our level of experience in this area. Number two is that sometimes clients just want us to buy them time so they can finance the property out because they've got a finance package. But if the property is in the hand of receivership, they can't get a survey done. So we have various solutions to actually solve that problem. We have certain lenders that will lend just upon a desktop. Doesn't mean that they don't have to visit the property. They will just basically do a desktop valuation, and they can lend money to basically refinance the property out. But obviously, if the receivers are appointed, it's once they're on, it's almost impossible to get them off unless you understand the process by which they've been appointed and how to disinstruct them, and that's where we can help. Number three, we have expertise in a sale process as well, where we can talk to the right parties. I'm not going to tell you how we do it, but we can do this but it's usually the option of last resort where we would have access to ultra high net cash buyers who would be able to potentially do a JV with you to help you to save your properties. But obviously the numbers have to stack, and we'll have to structure a fee payment to the buyer. So three very, very strong, very, very effective, and tried and tested approaches to getting you to be in a position where we can stop the receivers. So those three things alone, although I've touched upon them, they are massive in terms of what they could do to be able to take you from a repossession issue to basically clearing the receivers altogether and solving the problem altogether. So that's what we're all about, Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. So what I'm going to do now is just go into a few case studies where we've applied those 3 or 4 strategies. And now that you've got quite a comprehensive understanding of what Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, does, there's a lot of things we can do to solve the problem. So I'm just going to give you a couple of case studies to give you an idea of what we can do to help. So case study number 1 is a client that I'm just going to start with the simplest ones that we've had actually. Excuse me. So one of the simplest case studies we've got is a client that had LPA Receiver issues. He was based in Oxford, and we basically met him. He came all the way from Oxford. We did an assessment. He gave us all the information, the chronology. We told him, yes, we can help. Here's the fee structure. He paid up his fees. We basically, within about 2 weeks, we were able to disinstruct the receivers. So his was quite a complex set of issues around 6 or 7 properties that he owned. And one of them was in receivership, and they're about to put it into auction for sale. And it's quite a complicated situation, but we did an assessment, worked out where the problem was, and then we wrote basically 3 or 4 critical letters to receivers in the bank, and basically we got him off the hook. So what would have happened had he not met us? He would have potentially lost over about £1 million worth of assets, and potentially made maybe £300,000-400,000 worth of losses. So how would I describe what our fees are? Our fees are usually nominal, and the saving tends to be maybe 20 to 50 times bigger than our fees. But if I were to give you an average, the highest fee we might charge is about 10% of the savings. So if you're being saved £100,000, we would probably be charging you about £10,000. So that's just to give you an indicator of our fees. So that's client number 1 from Oxfordshire. Client number 2 is from Cornwall. He had a £1 million property. He basically his partner passed away, unfortunately, 8 years ago in an accident. He basically is left with his house, and he tried to, the debt on it was about £500,000. The value was about £1 million, but he didn't really know how to finance it out. And then he lost his job, and he also had 6 buy-to-lets as well, and each of them also went into receivership because he went into arrears, because he went into depression. So what were we able to do? It was quite a long, complex, and arduous case because we went to court 2 or 3 times to save his personal house, and with his properties that are in receivership, we were able to disinstruct all the receivers. We were able to refinance all his properties out. This is actually like a 4-year case because the client didn't really want to sell any of his properties. He just wanted to try and retain them. But unfortunately, he lost his job, and he was living off all the rental income that he was getting, but he didn't have enough rental income to be able to sustain himself long term. And so during COVID-19, he also was even more short because he still couldn't find a job. So we ended up with him disinstructing his receivers, saving his house, refinancing his properties to give him some time for 2 or 3 years. Meantime, he was so attached to his house he didn't want to sell, but then he decided it does make sense to sell. But when he wanted to sell it, he was only getting sale prices of about 700,000. Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, you could call it luck, you could call it expertise. I managed to sell his property for him for 1.1 million. So £100,000 above what he was expecting for his house. And in order to liquidate and also have some cash, he also had to sell 2 other assets, and he was selling each one for about 300,000 for about 2-3 years, but he wasn't able to sell them at the price he wanted. Lakhi Singh here sold them for 350,000 each, £50,000 more than he was expecting. So quite an incredible case study, quite an incredible journey. I talk to that client every day, pretty much still, and he actually just lives around the corner now. So we've been out for numerous lunches and dinners, and he's become a friend of sorts as well, because he realizes the value of what we've done, but also has now got his retirement. So he's almost retired locally in Kensington now. So good, that's actually one of those perfect storms where we managed to do everything perfectly for him, even though it was very complicated. In fact, the case studies that we've got for him are even more complicated than I'm describing, because he also had a sitting tenant in his property when we were trying to sell it, but we still managed to get the sitting tenant out and sell the property and beat the receivers in time. Had he not sold his 2 LPA properties that were receivership, that were disinstructed, and his home, he was within an inch, I would say, within an inch of actually losing them. Can you believe it? So that is actually an incredible case study. And to be honest, to this day, I think it's a bit of a miracle that we managed to save him. So sometimes it's down to powers that be, bigger than us. Okay, so we've got another case study in London Bridge, where a client had a penthouse that was worth about £1 million. The property went into receivership. The client didn't know what to do or how to deal with any of it. So it was quite a complex situation, because the client also had other issues to do with other litigation issues he had with his house. So he had quite a lot of moving parts, but he was basically, the debt on the property was about 400,000. The value of this penthouse was about £1 million. We managed to help him to disinstruct the receivers by finding him a buyer who basically was able to. Give me 1 second. We've got some of the staff in now. Look, like he's on time. Okay, so I'm just doing the video here. Actually. So we'll introduce our head of bridging. Actually, he's just here now. Where is he? Here's he go. You find him.
Yeah.
This is what you call real live stream. So basically, what happened next is that what would happen next is that we've got we had a massive saving for him, and what we did for him is pretty incredible. So I'm going to now talk about another case study we had where they had 4 brothers in Lily Road in Fulham. That was actually probably one of the toughest cases I had, because all 4 brothers were singing from completely different hymn sheets, and they'd borrowed some money from an ultra high net lender, a family friend who knew his oats, and they were in arrears by a year. And so this lender put receivers on them because they kept on defaulting on their payments and not paying anything. So because the guy didn't get the money, he got quite aggressive. So the value of the asset was about 1.3, 1.5. The debt on it was 500, and they were arrears by 50,000. That was a very complicated case, and the 90% of my time in that case was nothing to do with the case. It was actually just trying to get the 3-4 brothers to agree what they wanted to do, because they weren't too sure whether they wanted to take our services or not. Number one. Number two, they hardly had any information. Number three, they're up against time, and told them what to do, but they wouldn't really follow instructions. Number four, it was a commercial shop with the residential flats above, but some of it became regulated because they had family members living in 1 or 2 of them. And thirdly, they'd actually this is ridiculous actually, but they'd done a lot of work on the property without getting council approval. So I had that issue when it came to survey. So we had pretty much every single issue that you can think of. So cut long story short, this ultra high net guy managed to put receivers on the property, and even though we were able to actually tell them how to disinstruct them, they didn't follow our instructions. So that law firm, which is one of the top ones, actually put a security guard and changed the locks on the commercial unit, which is on the ground floor and basement retail unit. So cut a long story short, we managed to get in and change the locks back, get rid of the security, shave £20,000 of the debt and agree that with the lender. Managed to get a surveyor in who managed to was happy to sort of still comply with doing a survey, even though we could probably say I wouldn't have said that any lender would want to lend on it. So we were able to agree the surveying firm to do it on our terms to actually get the bridge sorted. We managed to get a £750,000 in lending, so they gave them ample money to refurbish the whole property and deal with all their financial problems. We managed to knock off the £50,000 debt that was accumulated. The landlord, like I said, took £20,000 knock on that. He was happy to do that through our negotiations. So another very difficult case, very, very difficult. That was done over a period of about 4 weeks. But we managed to disinstruct the receivers, refinance the property, knock the debt down, get a surveyor in still, get the finance sorted, get 4 brothers that weren't really talking or agreeing anything to agree. That was the toughest part. and actually then give them ample cash to have continuity. So that is actually a really, really tough case. And it was that close to the wire, but we managed to save it. Okay, another case study in a place called Southall in West London and Ealing. Is basically father and son. They've got a house in Hayes, and they've also got a buy-to-let in Southall. And basically, the house is facing repossession, and the property that in question, the property that's LPA had the receivers on it, Southall was a buy-to-let. So we managed to rebridge the buy-to-let property without doing by doing a desktop survey with another lender. I've managed to convince the bank to actually take that, but a lot of banks don't normally do that. So we managed to refinance that. And the house, which was being repossessed because they hadn't paid the mortgage for about a year, had built up arrears, was actually being held up for a repossession. So we managed to stop the eviction for the home repossession. And we managed to, in this case, get a 56-day stay on the home being lost. And we did, through a regulated lender, we managed to refinance the property out for the home. And that one was also very complicated because the person that owned both properties was very difficult to get hold of, and it was very incredibly disorganized. And he hadn't told his parents what type of trouble he had got them in. So I had to actually deal with this smoothing of family to make sure that the father didn't really ending up getting brutally angry with the son, who was actually in control of all the finances. So that was another very successful case study. So a lot of case studies there, which I'm not really going into all the detail of the complexities of what happened, but just giving you the end result. But those were some of the most satisfying cases that we've had, where we've bailed people out of very, very difficult situations and got them back on their feet. We had another case study with the client with the 5 properties in Birmingham, worth about, I think it was about £2 million. One of his properties actually was put into receivership, but we managed to refinance that property out through a desktop again, and he was short on the amount of equity that he had, so we managed to put some second charges on his other houses to get him some enough equity to refinance that house out. So that client was probably like a super tough one as well, because his property actually had gone into auction through receivers. So we had to actually get the property back before it went into auction. So there's a lot of negotiating that took place, but that again is another refinance that took place within a minute. Had we been about 5 minutes later than in terms of all the work that was done, then we would have missed the deadline and they would have lost the property in auction. But even then, even had it gone into auction, I had another strategy. So that was an incredibly successful case study. So anybody out there that's got any problems with LPA receivers, then look no further. Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, is here to help you deal with any eventuality. So 15 years of experience in LPA, dealing with LPA receivers. So thinking whether we've got time for another case study or not. We've got literally about 3 minutes. I think we've covered quite a lot. So just to summarize, if you do have LPA receiver issues, do get in touch. Our number is 0207 127 9134, and you'll get immediately come through to head office here in Berkeley Square. If you are looking to grow your portfolio and buy assets or help people in financial problems, we're always looking for buyers that are looking to help people in these type of predicaments, so do get in touch. Number 3, it's a very friendly service. You know, we're also very, very professional because we've been in the industry for a long time. So what more can I say? Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. We're here to help with stopping LPA receivers. Just to make it clear, if you are a homeowner and you are looking to get out there and you've got problems with repossession, then we also specialize in stopping home repossession as well. But disinstructing LPA receivers is one of our core areas of work, but we can help stop repossession across the board. So do talk to us. This is Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, and I think because I'm on a new platform, I haven't had any comments. I must have missed all of them. So if I missed any comments from anybody, then thank you. Usually Carolyn or Hazel or John, I think, usually sort of say hi, good morning, or Mandy Sandhu. So good morning to all of you, and hope you had a very, very good weekend, and hope you have a great, great Monday. So I think I've got literally 5 seconds to go. So take care, guys. This is Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, sitting in Mayfair in our head office. I'm not sure how to actually switch this off now because on my laptop we're still live. You've got literally 7 seconds. There you go, 1 hour now. So I think the tech team could probably switch this off now because I'm not sure how to do it. Let me just check how to do it from here. All right, leave studio. There we go. I can leave the studio, but do you have to switch it off, mate? It's a live stream. For leave studio. Just going to ring them up to switch it off. Hold on 1 second. If I leave, then what happened is that I might leave, but it might still be on. So maybe I just switch it off. We've got the expertise on repossession. I need to probably improve my live stream skills when using live stream.